All right, so let's start this broadcast, the story that's been in focus for several weeks now. The American Secretary of State Antony Blinken has now said that President Joe Biden is willing to meet with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin pretty much at any time to prevent a war in Ukraine. He's also added that Russia appears to be on the verge of invading its neighbor.
In terms of engaging Russia, my job as a diplomat is to leave absolutely no stone unturned to see if we can prevent a war. And if there's anything that I can do to do that, I'm going to do it. President Biden has made very clear that he's prepared to meet President Putin at any time, in any format, if that can help prevent a war.
Blinken, in fact, made that statement during a recent interview with one of the local American media channels there. And he also shed some light on what he described as an aggressive military action that had begun in and around Ukraine in the month of November by the Russians.
Everything we're seeing tells us that the decision we believe President Putin has made to invade is moving forward. We've seen that with provocations created by the Russians or separatist forces over the weekend, false flag operations. Now the news just this morning that the quote-unquote exercises Russia was engaged in Belarus with 30,000 Russian forces that were supposed to end this weekend will now continue because of tensions in eastern Ukraine, tensions created by Russia and the separatist forces it backs there.
Blinken also added that the United States is still working on every possible level to try and dissuade Vladimir Putin from invading into Ukraine.
We continue to try to build everything we can to deter him from the course that he's now set on. And until the last minute, there is still an option to, for him to pull back. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to prevent a war. As soon as you trigger the sanctions, of course, any deterrent effect they may have is gone. They get absorbed by President Putin, and he moves on.
The reports also suggest that the situation in Ukraine remains very grim, and the nation has seen more bombardments. Russian military exercises in Belarus are, of course, continuing. They were supposed to come to an end on the 20th of this month, that is yesterday, but they've now been extended. Belarus is a country that borders both Russia and Ukraine. The Belarusian Defense Ministry announced that Russia will extend the military drills in the country. Now remember, there have been incidents of sporadic shelling across the line dividing the Ukrainian government forces and the Russian-backed groups in the Donbas region. This has further ramped up pressure during the already intense developments. Meanwhile, Biden held a rare weekend meeting of his National Security Council on Sunday to address the Ukrainian crisis. The Vice President, Kamala Harris, also spoke about the reports and said that the Western allies are prepared to hammer Russia with massive sanctions should Russia decide to go on and invade into Ukraine. Now, Vladimir Putin is an independent journalist who earlier joined us live from Kiev, and this is what he had to say about the situation that is presently unfolding at the moment. Listen in.
Yeah, well, first of all, just for clarity purposes, I'm currently in Odessa. I traveled here earlier today to witness a large march of unity by pro-Ukrainian forces. Odessa is predominantly Russian-speaking city. And back in 2014, during the Euromaidan revolution, there was a very strong pro-Russian sentiment here. So when I went out to the streets today to witness this solidarity of Ukrainian population, of Ukrainian people here, they told me that a lot has changed since then. Obviously, everyone is concerned about the possible aggression, and Odessa is right on the shores of the Black Sea, and Russia has multiple military ships just a few kilometers off the coast. So this is something everybody has in the back of their minds. But overall, if you're talking about the situation in Ukraine and the state of people's minds, obviously, the threats of possible Russian invasion is in the back of people's minds, but you don't see panic or hysteria or mass fleeing of refugees out of the country, because one of the reasons for that is that Ukrainians have been living with that threat for 8 years now, and the recent couple of weeks have just shown some sort of escalation of this threat.
And also we spoke to Mr. Solihub about the situation presently on the front lines in the Donbas region, where there's been a sharp rise in the shelling that's been witnessed from either sides. There are allegations and counter-allegations as who has started this shelling at the Donbas region, and this is what Mr. Solihub had to say in terms of how this has impacted lives for the common people there.
Well, obviously, the situation in eastern Ukraine and in Donetsk in particular is very volatile. We've all heard the reports of foreign intelligence that Russia has amassed 100,000 troops on Ukraine's borders. They're ready and willing to invade any moment now. And what it seems like what's happening in Donetsk right now is that it's a pretext. Russia is waiting for a pretext, real or fabricated, to actually invade Ukraine, to cross the border and to start the outright war. And obviously, these removing of evacuation of civilians out of non-government controlled areas, these reports of alleged shellings on Russian territory, and the increased fire on Ukraine's territory are all the evidence that Russia is just waiting and manufacturing this pretext to invade.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.